Welcome to Immigration Quicktake. This is Ellie Rutledge with the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Late yesterday, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, announced plans for enhanced oversight for family residential centers. Here to discuss what this announcement means is Chen, AILA's Director of Advocacy. Greg, thanks for joining me. Tell me about this announcement.
For months now, AILA members have been volunteering to go represent these mothers and their children who are being held in detention despite them being asylum seekers. For months now, AILA and other advocates have been meeting with the White House, with DHS, and with ICE to explain to them why it is unconscionable to detain 4-year-old girls with their mothers in detention facilities when they have been fleeing violence and are entitled to seek asylum here in the U.S. In the case of a 4-year-old girl named Estrella and her mother Melita, Estrella has lost at least 5 pounds during the now 9 months she has been held in detention with her mother. In answer to these long-term problems, what does ICE give us? A 5-point plan that lacks any real meaningful change to answering the problem of why ICE and DHS and this administration are detaining families that pose no threat to our communities.
Thanks, Greg. Do these changes go far enough?
No, it's not enough what ICE has announced. I won't go into every one of the 5 points that are in ICE's announcement that's up on the AILA website now, but I will mention 2 of them. First of all, they will have now a review process for custody determinations after 90 days in custody. Already there is review of custody determinations, and by and large, ICE in just about every case has refused to grant release to these families. When will there be an actual meaningful review? And until ICE actually complies with the law that requires that custody determinations be based on flight risk or risk to public safety, there will not be any meaningful nature to this new process of review. Second example, ICE now says it will comply with a federal district court injunction issued in February that forbids ICE from detaining these families for the general purpose of deterring future border entrants. Well, they're already required to do that, so them saying that they'll do it is just to say they're complying with the court order. And yet, in these weeks since the February decision, we've seen that ICE has been setting extremely high bonds on these cases. So high that it just doesn't count as a meaningful opportunity for this person to be released from custody. How can a family that has almost no means be paying $7,000, $10,000 for release?
What changes does AILA want to see ICE implement to have a real impact?
One meaningful change that ICE can implement would be to actually screen these women and their children to determine whether or not they are flight risks and risks to public safety and start releasing them. The vast majority of these families would qualify for that kind of release, but ICE is unwilling to do that. They have tools at their disposal to make sure that families show up for court appearances, and yet they are choosing the most expensive way to do that, costing taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars using detention. Americans, by and large, are going to be shocked when they hear more and more about what's happening. Americans believe in freedom and liberty, and that is not what is happening here with ICE with respect to these asylum seekers that are coming. The humanitarianism is not something that this administration is taking seriously that Americans value. In Congress, we already have 3 members of Congress, Representatives Roybal Allard, Lofgren, and Gutierrez, speaking out and saying these changes are insignificant and not substantially meaningful. To other members of Congress, we ask that you use your voices to lift this up and be a conscience for what is happening. And finally, to the administration, AILA continues to say what we've been saying, and that is to end family detention. We don't need to use it, it's not cost effective, and it's not humane.
Thanks, Greg, for joining me. For the rest of you, please stay tuned for more updates from the American Immigration Lawyers Association.